Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the GM. It is your guy, Boulanger. Up next, changing of the guards. Let's talk. When you think of the AFC North, you think of some staples, guys like Mike Tomlin and John Harbaugh, and you think of the AFC North history. You think of quarterbacks as of late, Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow, and you think of competitive football. But I think that there is going to be some major changing of the guards at the end of the 2025-26 season. I think you will still have the same level of competitive football. The competitive nature will stay, but I think there will be some major changes. And we're going to talk about changes at three levels: head coach, QB, and then also division winners. And so let's start with the head coach. When you think about AFC North head coaches, you have two guys who have had 15 plus year tenures. That's Mike Tomlin and John Harbaugh. Both have claimed Super Bowls, but since those Super Bowls, they haven't been back and they haven't really been in position to capture an AFC championship in order to get to that Super Bowl. Both of these franchises, the Ravens and the Steelers, have had long-term quarterbacks. Before the Pittsburgh Steelers switched out to Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, you had Ben Roethlisberger there for 10 plus years. The Baltimore Ravens had Joe Flacco for 10 plus years. And then even in the context of longevity, the Cincinnati Bengals had the Red Rifle, Andy Dalton, there for a number of years. And although things are the same for 2025, 2026, I think much change is coming. Right? I think each team in the AFC North has the potential to change their head coach. I don't know if that's ever been done in one division in 1 year, but I think it could be possible in the AFC North. Let's start with Pittsburgh. Mike Tomlin is the longest tenured head coach in the NFL, followed by John Harbaugh, unless I have that backwards. Nevertheless, the Pittsburgh Steelers fan base seems to fall in and out of love with Mike Tomlin. Although Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season and he's always had his team in playoff contention, when they get to those playoffs, they have not had much success. And Pittsburgh doesn't seem to really give Mike Tomlin any type of grace, seeing that he has not had a franchise level quarterback in some time. Right? It's a hard fall from Ben Roethlisberger, his playmaking, his toughness, his longevity, to Mason Rudolph and Kenny Pickett and Mitchell Trubisky and Justin Fields and Russell Wilson. So that's a hard fall off from that level of consistency and stability to what they have had over the last 6 or 7 seasons, give or take. And regardless, it doesn't seem that Mike Tomlin is going to get much more grace past the 25-26 season, because there were absolutely conversations and rumors swirling if Mike Tomlin was a good fit for the Chicago Bears job. Should the Pittsburgh Steelers trade Mike Tomlin? And of course, Mike Tomlin came out and debunked any and all rumors. But when there's smoke, you know what, guys? There is fire. So I think personally, and from everything that I've seen and heard over the last few seasons, not just this season, that Mike Tomlin could be at the point where there will be a change at the end of next season. When you jump to the Baltimore Ravens, unlike the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Baltimore Ravens have had a franchise level quarterback over the last 7 seasons, and 2 of them being an MVP season, a possible 3rd MVP. But for whatever the reason, the Baltimore Ravens get into the playoffs and they fall short, right? And we as a fan base have pointed to the fails and flaws and lack thereof with John Harbaugh. And I think that there's 2 things working in the favor of change. One, if the Baltimore Ravens don't land in a Super Bowl at the end of the 25-26 season, I think John Harbaugh is out. Also, this is the last year of John Harbaugh's current contract. So it kind of falls in line with the end of next season. So I think that it's paramount that the Baltimore Ravens, led by John Harbaugh, end up in a Super Bowl victory, or I think he's out as coach. And I know a lot of Baltimore Ravens fans would be absolutely perfectly fine with that. Why would the Cincinnati Bengals remove and replace Zach Taylor? Well, I think the biggest reason is the Bengals have not been back to the Super Bowl. In the Joe Burrow era, they have gone to one Super Bowl. They've won 2 division titles, but this year they fell on hard times and did not get back to where I guess they wanted to be. 2 of the 4 years that Joe Burrow has been a professional, he has had injuries. I think one was his rookie season, and I think one was 2 seasons ago. Actually, Joe Burrow has been in the league 5 seasons, so they won 2 division titles in Joe Burrow's era and been to one Super Bowl. But I think that if the Bengals fall short again, for whatever the reason, it doesn't matter if it's the defense, it doesn't matter if the offense stumbles. Here's what's true. Of the last 2 seasons, the Bengals have got off to a slow start. So whether that was Joe Burrow, whether that was a lack of readiness by the team, people are going to begin to take a hard look at Zach Taylor and why he can't get his teams off to better starts. Because I believe that the Bengals have started off a little better, they actually get into the playoffs this season. Nevertheless, I think that there could be a changing of the guard in Cincinnati if Zach Taylor can't get them back to the pinnacle. When we talk about the Cleveland Browns, we talk about numerous head coaches, we talk about numerous quarterbacks, and in the Stefanski era, they've gone from Baker to Deshaun to Jameis to DTR, so on and so forth. Even a smidgen of Joe Flacco. And Cleveland, I think, made a major mistake going after Deshaun Watson and tying up all that money, which I think handicapped Stefanski's ability to get this team to the playoffs with any level of consistency. Because if you don't have a healthy quarterback who's in place and playing well, you're not going to win, right? And I think in some aspects, you can kind of compare that to even a Mike Tomlin, who has not had a franchise quarterback. And Cleveland has supposedly had two franchise level quarterbacks and hasn't got it done with Stefanski. And so I think that he could too be out. I think the only thing that saves Stefanski's job is that Deshaun Watson has not remained healthy. So they haven't got a real good look at what Stefanski could do. But if Cleveland goes QB in this draft, they may keep Stefanski in place in order to develop this young quarterback. Otherwise, I think all 4 head coaches could be out. If you guys are fans of one of these teams, Ravens, Steelers, Browns, Bengals, jump in the comment section and let me know if you think your coach could be out at the end of 2025 if it's not successful. And each level of success is going to be different, right? For the Ravens and Steelers, it's oftentimes championship or bust. For the Bengals, because they have Joe Burrow, I think they have the same metric now, championship or bust. And I think for Cleveland Browns, they just want to look like a viable team and maybe sneak into the playoffs. But again, I think all head coaches could be replaced, right? So let's talk about the QBs. I think all 4 teams have the potential to have franchise level quarterbacks. I think that 2 teams, Bengals, Ravens, have franchise quarterbacks, of course. And I think that the quarterbacks are not in danger at the end of the 2026 season, at the end of the 25-26 season. But I think questions will begin to be raised about both quarterbacks and the amount of money that's tied up into those 2 positions. I think that Lamar Jackson will absolutely be in Baltimore unless we take another step back and the Ravens feel like we need to blow it all the way up and hit reset everywhere. Other than something like that, I think Lamar Jackson stays in place. I also think Joe Burrow stays in place at the quarterback position. There's no reason why either one of these guys are going anywhere anytime soon. But the changing of the guard, I think, will be in Pittsburgh, and I think it will be in Cleveland. Start with Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has been rumored to be working on a deal with Russell Wilson. Don't know what that would look like, but I've seen some projections that it could be 2 years and $50 million, paying him $25 million per year. That's a bad idea. In fact, I think if Pittsburgh had to choose a quarterback, I would lean into Justin Fields. I think Pittsburgh made a mistake with switching out Fields for Russell Wilson. Fields has an ability to run and throw, but you didn't see much of that this year. I thought that Fields could have taken the Pittsburgh Steelers offense to another level with his mobility, his running skills, but you didn't see Pittsburgh allow him to really do that. And I think that Russell Wilson did elevate the offense with the deep ball, but in some other aspects, I thought it limited the offense, especially in the run game. Nevertheless, they should have went with a younger quarterback who has more upside potentially than definitely a more veteran guy like a Russell Wilson. I think that Pittsburgh will draft a QB in the draft, probably in the second round. You guys will see my mock drafts for each team coming out as we get into February, but I do think Pittsburgh tries to get the quarterback of the future and kind of holds it in the road with Russell Wilson for a couple of seasons. Again, I think they should have stayed with and should go with Justin Fields. All right, let's jump over to the Cleveland Browns. I think the Cleveland Browns, if they're smart, yes, Cleveland Browns fans, I said it, if you guys are smart, meaning your organization, you guys will take whichever of the top two quarterbacks falls to you, whether that's Shedeur Sanders or Cameron Ward. You guys need a reset in a major way at the QB position. And if you pass on one of these two quarterbacks, there is no veteran quarterback coming to save you guys, right? Everybody out there in the veteran market is going to be marginal at best. Sam Darnold is not coming there. Daniel Jones is not coming there. And the most you can hope for is to steal Justin Fields over there, give him some young energy in the locker room, or maybe somebody like, heck, call Joe Flacco again. I don't know. But what I do know is that it would be ignorant from the franchise to ignore the two opportunities to get one of your a franchise quarterback for the future. It does not make sense to not go the quarterback route. I have seen some mock drafts and things like that have Cleveland trading down. I've seen some mock drafts that have Cleveland taking Abdul Carter, and that sound real good and that look real cute to take the best edge rusher in the draft to pair him with Myles Garrett. But it don't make a crap who you stop if you don't have nobody to move your offense. And so I think that it could be a changing of the guard in Cleveland if they take one of these top two quarterbacks. In fact, I think that is a real way to offset the guaranteed money that they gave to Deshaun Watson. It would kind of look like what Denver did when they drafted Bo Nix and got rid of Russell Wilson. They still owe Russell Wilson a whole lot of money, but with a low contract from a rookie who did ball out this year, they were able to offset that number paid to Russell Wilson. I think Cleveland could do the same thing over the next couple of seasons. Now, let me be clear. I know I'm talking with a level of balance, and I'm talking as if I'm in favor of these teams winning and doing good things. Let me be super, super clear. I don't give a crap if Pittsburgh, Cleveland, and the Bengals go 0-17, right? I don't care. I'm just talking about all four teams because they are our closest competition, right? And so I want to be super, super clear with that. Let's get into the division winner. Over the last 7 seasons, the Baltimore Ravens have dominated in the AFC North, winning the division in 18, 19, 23, and 24. Pittsburgh jumped in 2020 and got a division title, and then the Bengals the other 2 seasons. And so, to be honest, I don't think there is a changing of the guard there. This season, the Pittsburgh Steelers held on to the division lead all the way down to the second game they played against the Ravens. We beat them and took over the division lead and then took the crown, right? I don't think Pittsburgh is that close this upcoming season, just because they have a lot more work to do at the quarterback position, at the wide receiver position, and then some things they need to address in the secondary. So I don't think they hold that that top spot for any length of time this season. When it comes to the Browns, I don't think they have a real opportunity. They're not going to win immediately with a rookie quarterback if they go that route, and I don't think they win with Deshaun Watson if and when he gets ready to play. So I think Cleveland will spend another season at the bottom of the AFC North. Now, this is just me talking prior to free agency, the draft, all those kind of things. So the division is going to come down to the Bengals and the Ravens. I'm leaning into the Ravens winning the division again, not because I'm a homer, but mostly because we are going to return about 90% of our offensive roster and about 90% of our defensive roster. Now that's more like 90-ish, right? We're gonna return definitely 3 of the 5 offensive line starters, the backfield, at least 2 of the 3 tight ends, and at least 3 of the 6 wide receivers. So our offense is fairly intact, right? Defensively, our front, linebackers, and most of our secondary are going to be intact. And so we're going to return a lot of the 22 starters. When you come to the Bengals have many, many defensive questions. And then they also have a question of what they're going to do about T. Higgins, and also what they're going to do with the running back position. And so because we're going to bring back more consistency, I think I'm leaning into the division going to the Baltimore Ravens. Now, let's tell the truth. The Baltimore Ravens play one of the toughest, if not the toughest schedule in the AFC when it comes to all of the playoff teams that we're actually going to face off against this year. So it's going to be much tougher to have a high seed in the playoffs and also win the division. So we will have to be on our game. But to sum it all up, I think that there is going to be a changing of the guard in 26, no matter what happens. I think in Baltimore, I think John Harbaugh is going to be out either way. If we win the Super Bowl, I think he rides off into the sunset. And if we fall short of a Super Bowl visit and win, I think he's out. When you look at Pittsburgh, I think Mike Tomlin is going to be on a short leash, not the hot seat, but just a short leash, because I think they're going to have to figure out what they're going to do at quarterback and kind of stabilize some things offensively, specifically at the wide receiver position. And when you have many questions like that, you may not have the success you had even this season. The Bengals, if Taylor doesn't get it done, lead this team back to the promised land with that explosive offense, I think they could lose faith in him and look for another. And then Cleveland, although Stefanski has not had what he needed at QB, I think they could just be looking for a new voice. So listen, let me know, fans of all teams, what you guys think. I'm your guy Boulanger. This is the GM, and I'm out.